So here we are back at it once again. The last time the topic of controversy was live stream commentaries. This time the topic of controversy is about these restrictive contracts that Engin is trying to enforce or is already successfully enforcing with some of the top level athletes. Is it wrong? Is it right? What's my opinion? A detailed review on that. Probably going to talk for at least 10 minutes. So stay with me. So first of all, want to make some things clear. The first thing is, I've said it multiple times, I am a supporter of these contracts. Devon also supports contracts. Toddzilla loves contracts. There is a reason behind that. And if somebody was to ask me that, Pradeep, there is going to be a monopoly of only one person, of only one organization, and you have to choose it. It's in your hands. I'll say Engin has proven to be the most successful and most kind of non-biased promoter in the arm wrestling world. I would want to see that monopoly with Engin, especially at the international elite level super matches. Let's make these things clear. So if Engin is trying to enforce the contracts, I don't think there is any harm that is going to come from them. However, I do believe that these contractual arm wrestling leagues and non-contract leagues can exist together. And let's be honest, people are going to sign these contracts only because they have seen what Engin can give them. They trust the amount of money that Engin can provide them. And others cannot do that. If Engin wasn't good enough, there would be no discussion about contracts. So since we are talking about these contracts, it shows how good of a job Engin has done. But there are some problems that I have with this topic, and I may be a little bit biased, but I'll try to keep my opinion at least 90% or 80% non-biased, like I've always done, and that's one of the biggest reasons that you support this channel. So let's start. Engin Terzi uploaded a community post about 19 hours ago. I'm going to read the highlights of it, maybe the entire post. But basically, Toddzilla was the AWE champion and he was supposed to go back to Australia to defend the title. Engin said no. Engin presented Toddzilla a lucrative contract that he decided to sign. He wanted to compete in Australia as well, but the contract prevented him from competing in any other organization. He can compete in the AWC Fight Night because, as per Engin, that event was scheduled way before he decided that he wants to have these contracts. That's the reason. So Toddzilla liked that contract. That's the only reason he signed it. He had a choice. He's not a baby. So Engin offered him a better deal than Ryan Bowen. That's the reality of it. Let's go back to the community post. And there I have a lot of problems. There seems to be some misunderstanding about the contracts and are being seen in a negative way. That is not true. Security and commitment to athletes and the sport is a positive thing, not a negative thing. Also, core sports has nothing to do with the agreement. Okay, good that he made it clear. It is King of the Table and East versus West that did not want to divide elite level arm wrestling and agreed to secure that all these elite athletes will continue to compete together as fans wanted to see. I'm not sure if I've ever heard any fans wanting to see that the athletes should not compete anywhere else. They should only compete at East versus West and King of the Table. Have you ever seen any fan demand that? So I'm not sure why Engin is putting his own personal interest of growing his brand and of growing arm wrestling and projecting it that it is something that the fans wanted. This is an issue of contracts, topic of contracts, and Engin is saying as the fans wanted. I'm not sure if the fans ever knew that having contracts is unifying arm wrestling and not dividing it. That's the manipulation of language, putting it on you guys. So you guys wanted it, that's why I'm doing it. It's not me. You know, Engin, what else the fans want? They don't agree. I just created a poll and about 60% people are saying that they don't like or don't support your decision of enforcing the contracts. So if you're so much concerned about what the fans wanted, then please pay attention to that one as well. All right, let's read further. If King of the Table would contract some athletes, and if East versus West would contract some other athletes, then fans would see a divided elite level arm wrestling as used to be. But for the good of the sport, once again, it's about the sport. It's not about Engin or his brand East versus West. Never ever you will see Engin write or say anywhere that he's doing it for the benefit of East versus West. Nope. It is either for the support or growth of the sport, or if you don't agree with it, then we'll discuss that part. Maybe you guys already know what I wanted to say because you have also heard those comments. Fans would like to see a divided elite level arm wrestling. Okay, good for the sport. Decided to keep the arm wrestling united. Okay, so first, this is another issue. I've heard Engin multiple times, and maybe you guys heard it as well, him talking about, and kind of in a self-appraising way, that he do not enforce these contracts. And the entire world was, wow, look at Engin Terzi. He runs everything on trust. Everything trust happens like that. I don't have any contracts. I don't believe in contracts. I have friendship. It is so easy for me to set up the matches. So kind of got all of the appraisal from that part. The person who doesn't believe in contracts, who's the first one to do it without the contracts. And now this part, now the contracts are so good, they are so necessary that I'm doing it for you guys so that you guys can enjoy and the sport grows. So this person was also being praised for what he was doing, and this person who has taken a 180-degree turn, which is not wrong. We learn along the way. But now you cannot say that whoever doing is this part that you were also doing, non-contract leagues, and that is one of the biggest reasons why East versus West and King of the Table exist. Because if players were under contract, then there will be no big leagues like that. Now this person is also getting all the praises, and that can be the power of the language you use in these terms. It's like a vegan saying, this is good stuff. All of the people who are eating meat are bad, and one day he eats meat himself or somebody offers him meat. There can be some people who told Engin about this. It may not be his decision in the entirety. And then some people force him or show him the meat and he eats the meat. And now he's saying the vegans are bad. They are enemy of the sport. The meat is good. I'm not sure. The meat is good, but it wasn't good a few months back. Now it is. Do you think that arm wrestling is at a golden years? What does that have to do with the contracts? If arm wrestling, yes, I do believe arm wrestling is in its golden age, and it is because there were no contracts. Anyone can compete anywhere. That's how, for the first time, we reached its golden age. I'm not sure how Engin can ignore this part. Arm wrestling is bigger than it has ever been. We have seen more matches than we have ever seen, super matches, elite level, and that's because of there are no contracts. That's because of the absence of contracts. If yes, then is it because finally all the top athletes are pulling together and regularly? Yes, absolutely, I agree. If yes, then how did this happen? Because there are no contracts. That's how it happened. Can you give guarantee that the athletes we see today will not be contracted and divided into 3-4 parts? Ryan Bowen gave the guarantee. He did say that I'm not going to sign any athletes under my AWE contracts. That's what he said. So just in next 6 months or so, okay. If you can't give guarantee for that, then you do think elite level athletes to be divided as used to be. Okay, they were divided because of contracts. I don't understand this part. How can someone say that there used to be contracts, that's why the athletes were divided, they were not united, they were not competing together, and there may be contracts in the future that will divide the athletes once again, and the sport will not be unified. Okay, are you ready? Are you ready for this truth bomb? There were contracts in the past that divided the sport. There can be contracts in the future that can divide the sport. To solve both of these problems, I'm adding more contracts. To solve the problem of having contracts, I'm using more contracts. Wow. It's like there is a sun, it is getting too hot, so to solve the heat problem, I'm going to add another sun. So we'll have two suns, and they'll cancel each other out, probably. SON, not the Yeah, son. Children is also son. As well. If you can't give guarantee, if arm wrestling is at its best era and something that secures this is a negative thing, no, arm wrestling is not at the best era because there were contracts. It's the exact opposite, in my opinion. Is there any serious sport without serious ranking and titles? No, they aren't. I agree. And without contract, how can we you respect? So contracts are good. As I said, for preventing injuries, for protecting your brand, there are some athletes that you build almost entirely by yourself, like Engin built up Zurab Tavbaridze and many others. Tobias Sporong, Artem Morozov wouldn't have been Morozov if it were not for Engin. He needs to protect these athletes under his contract, and it is absolutely right. I would also feel bad if I created such an arm wrestler. I gave him so many opportunities, and now others can just use him, and I may not get the matches from that athlete that I want. It's kind of bad. That's why the contracts exist. And the biggest reason of them all, to crush competition. This is the truth that Engin will never use in these paragraphs that he's writing. The main reason, at least 50% of that part, is that he wants to crush competition and he wants his brand to grow. So why not exclude King of the Table? Well, maybe because King of the Table is too big. Maybe King of the Table has a better relationship with core sports that Engin needs for his own organization. That can also be a reason. Think about that, guys. Is Engin that powerful that he can crush King of the Table as well if he wants? King of the Table has a strong ties with core sports. Think about that. Securing the unification of the top athletes is the footstep of the developed professional sports. Community needs to decide between divided elite arm wrestling as in the past, or united elite arm wrestling as it is described golden age. So how did it get united if there were no contracts till now? You united it without having contracts. So why do you need contracts now? If you choose divided elite arm wrestling, then sorry, but we are committed to keep this unification before it becomes divided into few parts again. And there, Engin is a smart person. He may be seeing something that we mortals cannot see. There is a big possibility that it can happen, whatever Engin is saying. I almost 100% agree with Engin on this one. I just despise the wordings that he has chosen, trying to put everything on us like it's something that we wanted. We were probably not smart enough to understand all of this. I'm not saying what he's saying is wrong. What he's saying has like 10 times more chances of being correct than all of us mortals. But the wording to put it on us as if it is something that we demanded is something that I don't agree with. There is not a single mention of the growth of East versus West. He can say that growth of East versus West means growth of arm wrestling. I'm the best representative of arm wrestling, which is true, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. If we ever got to be divided again, arm wrestling will go down as fast as it went up in last 2 years. Okay, makes sense. Securing what we have today is something to be happy about. Also, monopoly means a single power. Here are different organizations. So East versus West and King of the Table. Creating two is like even worse. Somebody can put up a challenge against East versus West or King of the Table. New organizations can rise, then there can be more competition, which leads to betterment of every single organizations and athletes getting paid more money. But if there are two giants who monopolize the sport, I think it's even worse. How can you say like monopoly is only one, here we are two? To call it a monopoly is an unsuccessful way to twist the truth. I have my own organization with different style. King of the Table is different. Okay, I agree with that. These two organizations are the ones that keep pro arm wrestling alive during the pandemic and up till today. Yeah, these are the first ones who stepped up to the opportunity. And athletes have been treated as superstars. Engin is paying more money to the arm wrestlers than anyone else. That's why they are going to sign the contracts. It's good. It's good. It's the same thing that I discussed in the last video. Like whenever a new brand tries to rise, a new small brand, the big brand sometimes gives their own products at a very low rate that the lower guys cannot afford, the new brand cannot afford. That crushes the competition. The same thing is here. Engin pays so much money to the athletes that other competition is going to get crushed anyways, and like he's doubling the money. Every year he's doubling the money that the athletes used to receive. That's why they will sign the contracts. 120 matches Engin has organized. These organizations deserve nothing but a big thank for their service, and today the goal is to bring sport of arm wrestling to UFC level, and this will not happen when athletes are divided in the past. Okay, there is another time when he mentioned UFC. So not only Eastern, not only Western, but all elites united for a common goal, which is to bring arm wrestling to UFC level. Fans love. Okay, at first you may have seen this whenever we used to mention Dana White, whenever we used to mention UFC, Engin always used to say, I'm not Dana White. This is arm wrestling, my friends. This arm wrestling is different. This is not UFC. Don't compare it with UFC. And now suddenly the comparison with UFC is okay. In fact, it is the standard. Like, when did this change came about? I wasn't notified about that. Maybe you guys were. Let me know in the comment section. And let's see. United at least until we reach the UFC level. So one more time a mention of UFC. Today Levan wrote to me, let's create a better future for the sport. Yup. That's something that we all want. We are not where arm wrestlers and fans deserve to be. Only 59 comments under that post, and that was uploaded about 20 hours ago. Can you guys do the math? I just said that Engin is supposedly having some contracts, and that community post has like 115 comments. Only 59. I can guarantee that there are at least 100 comments that Engin has deleted from this post. Why is that happening? Can anyone answer me? Can Engin answer me? If you don't like someone's opinion on your social media, you can ignore it. But when you fear that some other person is saying something that might change my opinion in the common public's eye, it may tell something about me which may be true in some cases, which may not be true, then I'm fearful, then I'm deleting the comments. That's one reason why I don't ever delete comments, because I don't fear nothing. So at least 100 comments have been deleted under this post. Why? What does that tell you about the person? You need to pay attention. And another community post that was shared on Reddit that Engin has deleted now. Do you want to see all the elite pullers continue pulling each other, or as it today, okay, separated in the past? So too much manipulative language. Nowhere the mention of the word contracts, nowhere the mention of the word exclusivity or restrictiveness, nowhere the mention of the words East versus West. All of the main things that need to be discussed. I want to stop arm wrestlers from competing in other organizations, and 1, 2, 3, 4. These are my reasons for doing that. That would have been the straight up way of talking. Nowhere you're going to see that. And the options are, I want unified elite arm wrestling. I want divided elite arm wrestling. Man, I just cannot believe how can someone be so manipulative with the wordings. If Engin wrote here, I want restrictive contracts that prevent athletes from competing, or I don't want restrictive contracts. I want athletes to compete wherever they want, which is still the case. They can choose not to sign the contract, but that kind of language would have prevented, like that would have changed the outcome of the poll. So totally 100% manipulative polls, and the world is talking about Engin Mezurenko. It's changing the game, monopoly. Engin always had this in mind, and nowhere the words profit is mentioned. Okay, I think it's about time to end this sant kind of view about yourself. There is not a person on YouTube, there is not a person in the arm wrestling community organizing matches who doesn't want profits. Money smells good, money looks good to everyone, but even that part you will not see. At least King of the Table, you will hear them saying that, okay, we were running out of budget, we want to break even at least, or that Engin also says, but nowhere he has mentioned that contracts will ensure that my brand, my East versus West, which is the best, undoubtedly the best arm wrestling brand in the world, stays at the top. Once again, I agree with everything that Engin is saying, almost everything, but just I don't like the use of words. Waf. If any of you have watched this till now, if any of you, or just share it with the other guys. Waf. Can Engin prevent athletes from competing at WAF? My question. Because athletes do get injured there as well. The matches get cancelled. Bacho Saginashvili versus Reno Masic, supposed to happen at East versus West, got cancelled because of WAF. There has been 0 matches that have been cancelled or delayed due to AWE. But because of WAF, there are countless matches that cannot happen. So can Engin write in his contracts that you cannot compete at WAF? No, Engin does not have the power to control WAF. WAF is above Engin Terzi. So that is not going to happen. You guys should definitely ask this question to Engin, that why not WAF? Will you control people from competing at WAF? Now he can say that, well, WAF is good for the athletes, but then he'll decide for others as well that which thing is good for them and which isn't. If it is good for them, then they can just choose not to compete at East versus West and compete at WAF. But that, in my opinion, if it is really about the unification of the sport, then WAF is dividing it more than anything else, at least at the super match level. So WAF, the Sandri say this, Coach Ray, why did they not go to AWE? Let's be honest. It was 100% because Engin told them not to go there. They can lie about it. They can ignore the question, but that was because of that. And Wagner, seriously you think Wagner got injured and that's why he's not competing against Ryan SP? Of course he isn't injured. Of course he was practice pulling at the East versus West afterwards, after his match. Clearly he isn't injured. Sabin Bedulescu versus Chan Shaw. I'm not sure how this match is happening even now, because clearly there are not good relationships between Sabin and Engin. So maybe he's not thought about this match yet. So I'll say this is going to rub someone the wrong way, but anyone who has worked with Engin knows that there is a lot of control going on. I don't like this person. If you do anything with that person, then you are the enemy of the sport. That's the kind of mindset that he operates under. So a few basic things to keep in mind. East versus West and King of the Table are as big as they are now because there were no such contracts. And I believe that these contractual and non-contractual leagues can exist together. And after that WAF thing, is Engin going to prevent athletes from competing at WAF as well? Because WAF is cancelling more matches than anything else. Reno versus Bacho is the biggest example, and there are probably 10 more examples like that. Can Engin do that? And if not, then why not? Engin always says that this is what people want. This is what people want. I'm just serving the community. Whatever the community tells me, I'll do. So just create a simple poll. Do you support these contracts or not? Like I created. Let me check once again what the current votes are. Just a second and I'll end this video. A long rant, but I think it was necessary. Once again, for the 4th time, I'm going to mention I agree with what Engin is doing. I think these contracts are not going to harm the community, but the way the selective, manipulative, deceptive language is being used to fool the viewers. And let's be honest, like George Carlin used to say, can you imagine? Just think about how stupid an average man is, and now imagine that 50% people are more stupid than that person. So I think people can be easily manipulated, but not in this arm wrestling community. Just go to Reddit, go to Facebook and see how infuriated people are about this. So do you support Engin's decision to use these restrictive contracts? Okay, that high level athletes will only compete at East versus West and King of the Table at the same time. No, 60% people, and yes, 40% people. So far I have about 650 votes. So if Engin is doing only what the fans want him to do, then that's also according to the fans. Thanks for watching. Like the video. Any comments, any thoughts? I may have made at least 1 or 2 mistakes, maybe not more than that in this video. Please let me know about them, and thanks for watching.